Tonight has been so memorable, and we want to leave you with one more story. That moms, I apologize, I'm with you on this one. My son's a slopestyle snowboarder, and as accustomed as I get to the footage of him dropping and flipping and spinning and jumps around the world, this story coming up in the video will still probably wake us up straight up in the middle of the night going, oh my God, these were somebody's babies. It'll be a group text at 2 a.m., I know it, it's gonna happen. But tonight, we've already seen what happens when you give children the gift of gliding on snow. You snap their leash and you let them learn all there is to love about winter and to love about their own spirit and the freedom and the joy of motion that comes on the slopes. Movement and understanding our outdoor world and getting a place in it. And we've also learned when siblings do it together, like Marion and Ellen, Jeff and Craig and Brad, and that synergy that becomes so powerful that it ratchets performance to a world-class level. Truly, it's a force so powerful it can change the way we see and ski a mountain. And that's exactly what John Egan did when he lured his little brother Dan to take what most of us thought was unimaginable and make it happen.
Decades before GoPro, YouTube, and cell phone video, these crazy brothers from New England were jumping cliffs and skiing steeps. John and Dan Egan pioneered extreme skiing a dozen years ahead of the first Winter X Games. They didn't wear helmets or backpacks with peeps and shovels, but they did have really cool one-piece suits in neon colors. In 1978, Big Brother John was working at Vermont's Sugar Bush when Warren Miller came through scouting talent for his next film. John made the cut, and the rest is a ski bum's dream come true. It wasn't long before John lured his favorite sidekick, Dan, to the screen, and the two began to show the world what could be done on the mountains. Cameras followed them to places never skied before, from volcanoes in Siberia to the Berlin Wall. They made first ascents in Turkey, Canada, and Greenland, and took their love of skiing to inspire peace in Yugoslavia, Russia, and Romania. The Egans, along with fellow Hall of Famer Scott Schmidt, were founding members of the North Face Extreme team, and with them, the Extreme mantra moved from the mountains of the world to Madison Avenue. Said to be Siamese twins attached at the soul, no other pair could match these brothers for skiing in sync, turn for turn, knowing just what the other would do. That sixth sense was never more real than in 1990, skiing Grand Targhee for Warren Miller's Extreme Winter. That cornice break would become Warren Miller's most viewed film segment of all time. To this day, John and Dan continue to promote the sport and lifestyle they love. John serves as Chief Recreation Officer at Vermont's Sugar Bush, the same slopes where he launched his professional ski career back in 1978. Since 1991, Dan has run clinics around the world and continues to communicate his passion for winter in print and broadcast. For decades, the work ethic and down-home humor of these brothers from New England has influenced not only where and how we ski, but why we find fun and freedom on the mountain. Powder Magazine named them among the most influential skiers of all time. And now we're proud to induct these pioneers of extreme to the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
That's some Hurahita boy, cause I tell you right there. Holy wah. That's what Yoopers say when that happens. I have to share that Dan was escorted by his daughter Sydney, and the medal will be presented by son Graham. And John was escorted by Win Smith, the CEO of Sugarbush, and the medal will be presented by Tom Day, who, as John says, is the back mountain badass, than the first cameraman to film him back in 1978. Oh, boys. That's a family picture. I told you it was a family reunion. Oh boy. Okay, you guys, we got some important business right here. Come on up, Dan. Both of you guys, let's do this at once. Whew. John and Dan Egan, having been elected by representation of the 14 million skiers and snowboarders in America, we hereby bestow upon you in Stowe, Vermont, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor, and confer upon you from this day forward, April 8th, 2017, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where we are not going to let those videos ever die. Where your accomplishments, men, will forever be remembered. Okay, you got it.
Yep, I need those. Not bad for a couple of ski bums from Boston, huh? This is awesome. It's really, I want to thank you guys, our ski community, first of all, and I'm rather humbled to be up here. It's pretty impressive. It's makes me feel like 1976 all over again, but we'll get to that in a little while. You know, Dan and I joined and became the Egan brothers in 1988, and it's really great. And the biggest thank you I want to give tonight is to my brother. Come on up here, Dan. Like I said, we started the Egan brothers in 1988, but we tempted him before. I'm a little bit older, and I was already a ski bum up at Sugarbush, Vermont. And I had met a friend named Dennis Willett one of the first days I was up there, and he's here tonight. How's that hoot? Can I hear a hoot, Dennis? Yeah, that's it. That's what I want. You know, I skied with Dennis, and it was great. I'll never forget this beautiful day, and it dumped out, and we went skiing, and we had climbed up the hill early in the season and moved the snow guns wherever we wanted to make snow. And the snow-making team came by every 4 hours to change it, and they'd look around, and they'd look, and they didn't know what happened. They never looked up. Because we would climb the tower, shinny down this cable, and hang out in a chair and have a beer and wait till they came back. So on this beautiful day when we met Dennis, it was snowing out, there was a big dump, and Dennis waited in line for hours, and he was the first one to go up the chair. Unfortunately, my buddies and I were skiing down under him, and he couldn't figure that out. And then we ran up to the Valley House, and we did the same there. We waited till that chair opened, and we skied down. And later, Dennis skied with us and showed up at the Golden Horse Lodge for dinner, staff dinner. And the chef says, "Hey, you have to work for this." And this is where I learned a lot about ski bumming. He had to peel a 50-pound bag of potatoes, and what he did was take 2 pots, put one inside the other, peel about 10 pounds, put them on top, and say, "There you go, done." Threw the bag out behind the restaurant. Boy, wasn't the chef pissed when he started serving dinner, 10 pounds of potatoes. But Dennis and I went on to ski that whole season, and at the end of the year, he says, "Hey, let's go out west. Let's go skiing. The snow's melting in the east." And I said, "Dennis, I'm a ski bum, dude. I make $30 a week. I wash dishes at Sugarbush. I can't go out west." He said, "I will pay for your trip if you come work for me. I own an apple orchard." I went back after a trip to Jackson Hole, Snowbird. We went everywhere. We stopped on the side of the highway and climbed peaks we just saw. It was awesome. And he threw me the keys to a tractor trailer and said, "Practice and don't crash it. My cousin quit. You need to drive my truck." There became my truck driving career and my heckling my little brother, because I called up Dan. I says, "Dan, we're going heli skiing. Why don't you come with us?" I knew Dan liked to come skiing with us up at Sugarbush, and it was great. And I can't really go heli skiing. "Well, listen, we'll pay for your trip, dude. You just show up in Seattle, and we'll take care of you." So at the last minute, Dan had a tough decision. This was a really tough decision, and this is where Dan's ski career really took a turn, because he either had to bail his friend out of jail or buy a plane ticket and meet us in Seattle. That was a great heli trip, Dan. But anyways, back to 1976, when I first moved up here. That's 40 years ago. And I moved to Sugarbush. And this place wrapped its arms around me, just like this community, and that's why it feels like that. I've felt new friends that I've met and skied in the rain with all week here. You know, Mike and Peter, Justin. It was a blast out there. We just had a blast. It was really fun. And so the diversity of Sugarbush was incredible back then. We had centered skiing. We had Siggy and the Austrian technique. We had PSIA. We had everything there at once, and it was awesome. And it showed me that skiing was a family, and you could do it any way you wanted, as long as you had a smile on your face. And that really meant a lot to me. It changed my life. I want to thank you, Dennis, and I want to thank Sugarbush, the mountain. So then, as life went on, I wanted to go out west. I was a ski coach at GMVS, and I thought, geez, I'd like to go out west. And my girlfriend and I jumped in a car. We drove a little Ford Fiesta all the way out to California. And we're in Squaw Valley, and she said, "Let's go get jobs." And I was like, "Jobs? We're in Squaw Valley. We don't want to get jobs. Let's just go skiing." So she went to look for a job, and I locked up the car, and the only thing that wouldn't fit in the car was my downhills. So I took out my 218-centimeter downhill skis, and I went up to the KT chairlift. And I got in line with a guy named Tom Day. And he says, "Hey, John, I know you from Sugarbush. And I said, yeah, that's great. So he took me up to the Eagle's Nest on top of KT, and that was my first run ever there. And ever since then, Tom and I have probably climbed more mountains and skied in more crazy places than anywhere else. And there's only one time when I've ever looked at Tom and said, hey, Tom, I think the shot would be better from down here. And he said, really? Because it looks good from up here. And I know there was one other time when he told me, you ought to come down here. And I said, really, Tom? It looks better in your color jacket. So we've had a good time. And Tom, I want to thank you for all those years. It's been awesome. This whole industry has been so great, and it's been a wonderful example to me that it does take a village. I was one of 30 grandchildren in Boston. My grandfather was superintendent of Boston schools. And if you skipped school, you ended up building a treehouse. And I know some of the cousins in here may have played in that treehouse. But my grandpa taught me how to build, and I've used that skill all over the world to get myself out of trouble and pay some debts I might have attained in Southern zones. With Southern Comfort. Thank you for pointing that out, yeah. I really want to thank my family. My poor son, Johnny, I dragged him to 3 continents by the time he was 3. Dragged him up to 15,000 feet in the Andes when he was 9 with that whole bog water table over there. And Johnny skied that big couloir. My son, Willie, who puts up with me dragging him early in the morning up to go snowcat skiing and is crushing it this week at Stowe and having a blast meeting all you folks and skiing with you. And please keep telling him stories because he's saving those up and he's going to use them against me, I think. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Barbara, for really doing so much for me and supporting me. And as we all know, you can't go through this alone. It does take a village. So thank you, Barbara. I also want to say something about my new Sugarbush family. Win Smith, when he bought the mountain, for some crazy reason, thought it would be a good idea to hire me. Put me in charge of fun and learning. And it's been a hoot. I've met some really wonderful people through that. I've partnered with the likes of Tony Panos, and we have the leadership conferences there. And I've made some really good friends with the employees. There's a whole table over there, and I can't thank you guys enough for supporting me, hooting and hollering and skiing and just being there every day. It really is awesome. I promised Bernie I'd try and speak longer than him. But you guys still have to listen to my brother. But you know what, mentioning Bernie, we could not have done this without him. This guy thought it was a good idea, Bernie. Yeah, Bernie. And he had us at his shows. And we did ski shows with our multimedia extravaganza. I think that's what you called it. Yeah, Dan went to school for marketing. Awesome. And you know, that's where we met the skiers. That's where we met people on the hill that would be on the hill, that were on the streets, that loved it. We especially formed a lot of bonds in Boston. Bernie mentioned that he worked with a company called YES, Youth Enrichment Services. Through YES, we've met some of the most wonderful people. And 2 of the most memorable, Ray and Sean, grew up in Roxbury, Mass. And their mom raised about, 15 kids or 13 kids in a mission. It was awesome. And those 2 kids said, hey, John, because they'd come and they'd ski all over it. It was great. Hey, John, get us in a movie. I said, dude, get yourself in a movie. But listen, here's Stump's number. And if he calls you back, use me for reference. So Greg calls me up. Are these guys for real? I said, yeah, they're for real, man. It's awesome. It's really cool. We had originated an original jump. It was awesome. It's not quite PC, but with Ray and Sean on each side of the Egan brothers, we did the double stuff Oreo jump all through the 80s, and I'm telling you, it rocked. But Greg actually filmed them in a movie, and they parlayed that into a McDonald's commercial in Boston, which was really cool. So it was awesome. But listen, thank you. The new friends that I've made, the old friends that I see, the family that's here, it means so much, and I can't express it in words. Thank you.
John Egan. Yeah. Well, John mentioned my grandfather. He was the superintendent of Boston schools. He was a professor at Boston College. And every time he gave a speak, he said, "Sit back, it could be a while." So hold on. Hey, what a week of skiing this week, huh? You gotta love New England. You gotta love New England because the only cars in that parking lot was ours, huh? People in this room were out skiing in the rain for 3 days. And it paid off today, didn't it? Wasn't it a magical day? It was so magical to have the wind blowing, refilling the tracks. It looked like Europe, it looked like the West, but it was Stowe, Vermont, and it was creamy, and it was kind, wasn't it? A couple of months ago, I was skiing at Killington, and this little teenage kid skied up to me, and he said, "Hey, old man, you rip." I didn't know if I should laugh or cry. My first thought was, how did he know I was old? Well, I don't wear a helmet. My tips have tails. I've got a little gray hair, and I turn for a living. I knew it threw him off. Warren Miller, when he first met my folks, he said, "Your boys remind me that I'm never quite sure of how many lives I've ruined." Yeah. My mom loved that line. One time when I was interviewing Stein Erikson, he said to me, Warren Miller Films, to him, was what NBC is to the Olympics today. And I would have to agree with that statement. Every time I show a Warren Miller movie, people come up to me and they remember the first time they saw Warren narrating a film. And they remember who they were with, their dad, their sister, their cousins. And they remember the inspiration, the motivation, the places that the movies went to. And I always love hearing those stories. I love it. The Egan family, we're a big clan. We're a big clan. And my mom was a gym teacher. She was the only woman and a boy in a family of five. And she taught us sports. That's what she did. Played basketball with my mom. I learned to catch with my mom. Played soccer with my mom. My dad loved to ski, and my dad loved to sail. And he passed that on to all of us. And but when you have a family of 7 kids, moms need a day off. So she signed us up for the Blizzard Ski Club that picked up on Route 128 at all the Howard Johnsons along the way. And she stuffed my dad on that bus and sat back and enjoyed 8 Saturdays in a row. When it comes to growing up in a big family, my sister Mary Ellen, my brother Bob, my sister Sue, my brother Mike, they're the unsung heroes of the family. If there was a sibling Hall of Fame, they would be in it. I'm the 5th. I'm 8 years younger than Bobby. I'm 6 years younger than John. And what was my mother thinking, letting me hang out with them? When I was in junior high school, Bobby went to Norwich University. And he quickly became the ski patrol director of the Norwich Ski Hill. And on school breaks, he would take me to Norwich and let me pretend to be a ski patrol. I got to duck ropes, a useful skill. But I learned how to load lifts. I learned how to sweep trails, open trails. I went on Rex. Dave Casey and Rick Rader, my now brother-in-law, They taught me what it was like to run a ski area. After Norwich, Bobby became the manager of the Braintree Ski Market, and he hired me. In the shop, I would tune skis. In the summertime, Mike Bisner gave me 12 windsurfers and let me drive around beaches and teach windsurfing. But at the ski market, I learned the retail side. I learned about product clinics, co-op marketing. I got involved with sales, and I learned a whole nother side of the ski industry. And who would know that those two brotherly acts would really set the table for John and I's career. To understand the ski industry from that way was really amazing. All during that time, John was ski bumming up at Sugarbush, and I was banned from visiting. By Mom, Mike. But Bobby would sneak me up there, and we would go skiing with all John's buddies, and I'm 6 years younger. What a world I saw. It was amazing. And but the one thing that all his friends who didn't go to school were independent, they were relentless, they were persevering, and they were perfecting skiing. And over time, those guys would become independent businessmen and some of the forces in my life that would just shape my life in so many ways. And it was such a powerful example to see this wild crew of kids in the 70s and the early 80s fostering their way. And of course, the first time I went to a Warren Miller film and I saw my brother, that was amazing. When John was at Squaw Valley in 1983, I was at prep school, Bridgeton Academy, and he would write me postcards, and he would say, "Dude, you won't believe the places we are skiing. We're jumping off cliffs. We're making turns in these wild places. You got to come out here and do it." When I started taking my college semesters off from Babson to pursue that, it was amazing. But it was John who always said, "Go back to school." It was John who said, "Go back. Because when you get out of that place, we're going to do something together." We never knew what it was. We didn't define it. But he used to say, "Don't ever lose sight of the great winter of '88. I graduated in '87. In '87, '88, I was the night condo checking guy out at Sugarbush, Vermont. The Patriots were playing the Broncos. My man Stan was going to the game. I was riding the lift, and I said, "I can't believe you're going all the way to Denver, and you're not going to bring your skis. Why don't you let me drive your car out? I'll load up all the gear, and I'll meet you in Denver." He gave me the keys to his Jeep. I quit the job, went home. I was living with John. He goes, "What are you doing with Stan's car?" I said, "I'm moving out west." He goes, "I'm going with you." He called his building partner and said he's not going home. That guy said, "I can't build without you," and he got in the car. We were broke. We drove to Denver. John said, "Hey, back in the early '80s, there used to be a bum contest at Aspen Highlands. They give away $500 on Fridays. Let's go." We entered the mogul contest as the Egan brothers from Vermont, sponsored by your mama and my mama. John won $300. The guys at Aspen said, "Hey, are you guys here for the World Pro Tour?" And we went, "Absolutely." "Where is it?" They said, "It's tomorrow at Vail." "That's why we're here." After we got into the round of 32 and we got our entrance fee back, and we both got into the round of 16, and I beat Mean Dean the bumping machine from Salt Lake City, Utah to get into the round of 8. Went up against the famous Kurt Rawls in the round of 8. Had him on the first run, blew a shoe on the second run, but we never looked back. We gave Stan the car back, and we just went to Tom Day's house in Squaw Valley, California. Tom Day said, hey, tomorrow there's a tryout for the North Face Extreme team. We said, what's that? He said, just show up, go to Alpine Meadows, there'll be a box of clothing, put it on, and jump off cliffs. We went, yeah. Halfway through the day, I looked at my brother John, I said, hey, how am I doing? He said, has anybody asked you to go home? And that day, we signed the biggest deal of our life. 3 jackets and 4 pairs of pants. Warren Miller always said to me, he said, Dan, if you hold on to your skis just long enough, they'll become a jet airliner and they'll take you all over the world. Well, I love that idea. And that's just what we did. 1990 was a breakout year for us. We were shooting a film for a Japanese clothing company in Val d'Isère, France. John and I were the skiers, and they had these models. And every time the still photographers, we were just supposed to do the action. But every time the still guys pointed the cameras at the Egans, the Japanese guy would say, no, 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 Egan brother, too ugly. It's true. We were kicking around the bars, who knew, in Val d'Isère, and we bumped into Ewing Guinness. Now, Ewing he was the grandson of the Guinness Beer Company, and he had a slight drinking problem. And he had lost his license, but he had a van. John is very enterprising. He said, hey, Ewing, mind if we borrow the van? He came up to me in the bar, he goes, Ewing gave us the keys to his van. Where should we go? I said, the Berlin Wall. And that's what we did. We threw Tom Day, Lizzie Day, and their 3-year-old baby Danny Day, a Swede, a Brit, a Canadian, and we got in a van with no registration, no insurance, and no papers. And we drove into the Eastern Bloc. The East German Guard, when he started asking around for the papers, we got a little nervous. So we pulled out a 50 franc note, a mark, and he took it. He let us in. Then he called his buddies every 10 miles down the road, and they did the same thing. We finally returned the van, but not until we went to Zermatt, shot for the North Face, got a phone call by Warren Miller, and we went to Grand Targhee, Wyoming. Yeah. The cornice break. It had snowed for 7 days. You think the locals could have told us there was a big notch in the cliff and there was a overhanging cornice? Hey, how about a little local knowledge, boys? I'm skiing in front of John. John's yelling at me, what's new? I didn't know that the whole slope had broken away. I kept on skiing. When John finally caught up and we turned around and we saw that piece of snow that was the size of 2 18-wheel trucks, I just sat in the snow and couldn't believe it. That was a 500-foot cliff right there. But John had some energy left. And if you go back and watch the movie, 10 minutes later, he's flying in the air off a jump and explodes a tree. But it was that energy that's beautiful about John skiing. You know, when you go back and you look at that clip, right when that piece breaks, John stems, and then he realizes he'll never stop in time, so he pushed. That push is what saved his life that day. And that's how he lives his life, puts his chin to the wind, and he keeps on going. In the spring of 1990, we went to Russia to ski Mount Elbrus, the highest peak in Europe. On May 2nd, one of the biggest storms in the history of the mountain crashed into the mountain. And John, Tom Day, and I were trapped in a storm. John and Tom rescued a lot of people that day and got them down to the base. I was above 17,000 feet. I summited at 18, and I was trapped with 50 other climbers, and the storm killed 33. A Russian found me in my cave and saved my life. Thank you. That event shaped my life very definitely, because I wouldn't be here with you, and most of you wouldn't be in my life. That event left a profound change in me and what we were doing. When I was a little boy trying to learn to ski bumps, John told me, ski as fast as you can until you crash. Then get up and do it again. And pretty soon, dude, you'll stop falling every 10 feet. You'll go every 15 feet. And before you know it, you'll be skiing top to bottom faster than anybody else on the hill. And it's true, huh? That's how we did it. Whenever I meet kids today, one of the first questions a new school kid will ask me, what was your big trick? What did you throw off the cliffs? And I always say, staying alive, man. Because on straight skis, we skied in the snow, not on it. We couldn't quite go as fast. We had to make different decisions as we approached those cliffs. We couldn't straight line. We were landed on our hips to absorb the impact, and so we didn't post hole and tumble. Today's skiers are skiing on the snow. It's amazing to me to watch my nephews ski. They ski so fast, they can go so straight, and they can pivot to lose their speed in such a way that was not possible for us. We are part of the great turning generation. We turn. A couple of years ago, I was standing on top of a cornice with a new school kid, and I said to him, I want to see your stuff, man. So he jumped in and he straight-lined it. And he got down to the bottom and he gave it one of these. And I jumped off the cornice and I turned and skied down to him. And I said, that was awesome, dude. I never would have thought of doing that. He goes, funny, I never would have thought of doing what you did. But what I love about skiing and what makes skiing such a great sport is that skiing is about position, not strength. And for those of you who came to the film festival the other day, you saw a bunch of guys in the 1930s skiing on long wooden sticks with leather boots in perfect position. And they could do it. And that's what's awesome about skiing. That's why we love skiing, because my dad skied well into his 80s. When you're in position, man, it has nothing to do with fitness. When you're stacked up and you're making those beautiful turns. And I love that. The other thing that I love about skiing is family. You know, this week we've been skiing with 3 generations of Egans. From my grandnephew, Ben, who's 4 years old, to, sorry, Tim, I don't know how old you are. Somewhere in the 60s. But what I love about skiing most of all is you, the community. You know, this is a unique tribe. We're a unique type of people. We're like-minded. We're fiercely independent. We have kindred spirits. And, you know, there's something about going out and skiing in the rain or skiing good snow. It's not about the conditions, eh? It's about being out there, riding the lift, having the conversations, making it happen. You know, this community, you've nurtured me from a very young age. You've mentored me in business. Mike Bisner and Bernie Weitzel and so many others. You've taught me how to succeed, and you've picked me up when I've failed. You've supported me through my sobriety, my divorce, and countless hard times. This wide world community welcomes me every summer when I go to South America, and a Toro Lion is waiting for me with my skis in the Santiago, Chile airport. When my buddy Henry loans me his apartment every year in Val d'Isère, France. The year that Karen Anderson let me sleep in her attic all winter. Dennis Willette, who threw me in the back of his pickup truck and wouldn't let me sit up front until the guys up there pissed him off enough that they moved him in the back and me up front. Tom Day, words don't describe what you've done for us. Billy Bierce and Pete Gately, thank you so much. Lizzie, Sydney, and Graham, you guys are my family. John, you've always been my hero, my idol. Your strength, your determination, on and off the snow, motivates me and inspires me. If you've ever had the pleasure of watching John ski, you know his style, you know his speed, you know how smooth he is on his skis. It's remarkable. Skiing behind John through a mogul field, ripping towards a cliff, I've come to know his movements. I've relied on his pole plants. I know what the head bob means. I know when he's going to accelerate. I know when he's going to go left, right, or just air it out over a cliff. And I always just followed. It's been an awesome journey, my brother. I've had a front row seat to one of the best skiers on the planet. And I love you so much, mate. Been so many people that have inspired us, motivated us, but none more than our parents. You know, after 60 plus years of marriage, my dad's in a memory unit, and my mom, who doesn't need to be there, moved in with him. It's amazing. Their love and patience and compassion for each other inspires me all the time. My mom had a strategy during the summer, was to get us all out of the house. We couldn't be in the house. Couldn't do it. From the age of 5, I would walk a mile to the trolley, take the trolley to the train, take the train into Boston, get on a bus, go to South Boston, walk another mile, go to the South Boston Yacht Club and sail. By the time I was 7, 8, I was sailing alone, up and down all throughout the harbor. Bob and I used to race in our 110 and national championships, Atlantic Coastal Championships. Bob would tell me a 110 is 24 feet long, 4 feet wide. I would be 9, 10, 11. Bob would say, Dan, there's a regatta down in Hull this weekend. Get in the boat, sail it down to Hull alone. I'll pick you up after work. There's a group of guys, they're leaving about 1. You might want to go with them. What an experience. To me, it's never been any sort of confusion why I live the life I live. I was born and bred to do it. And I have my mom to thank for that. Every time we would leave the house, she would say, be home for dinner. That was the requirement. When I was freezing to death in the snow cave in Russia, I heard a lot of voices in my head, but for sure one was my mom's. I heard her saying, come home for dinner. This is one great dinner, Ma. Thanks. I want to thank the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame. I want to thank everybody who made this possible. I want to thank all of you. And I expect to see every one of you at 8 a.m. on the slopes for early ups. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, John and Dan Egan.